This really is a case of the Duchess, the missing diamonds, and the musical impresario that is Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber. But what's it about? As ever, let me explain. Hi, nice to see you. Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes, millions. Can you imagine if you had millions? Do you do the lottery, by the way? I do occasionally. And I have to say, well, you probably hear the tears every time I check the numbers. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Every now and again, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? And can you imagine if you won the lottery? Now, of course, some people might say marrying into monarchy, into money is like winning the lottery. But everything seemingly comes at a price. And when you think about it, this particular lady, well, she had quite a few famous sayings, didn't she? You can never be too thin or indeed too rich. We're talking, of course, about Wallis Simpson, the Duchess of Windsor. And what was fascinating about Wallis and, of course, the Duke of Windsor, they went on to have a life of absolutely, well, untamed luxury. Wherever they went, people would put them up, pay for their flights, their hotels, whatever. But seemingly they never had enough money. Of course, Queen Mary, his mother, cut them off and refused any financial assistance. But it has been said that the king, the Queen's father, of course, from time to time did sub certain money simply because he needed the money. But of course, Wallis liked the big life. She liked jewels, furs, more diamonds, but apparently the one thing that she couldn't live without was fun. And fun cost a lot of money. She had glamorous friends, of course, like the Cecil Beatons, Noel Cowards, all of the people that also mixed in the inner circle of the British monarchy. But it was this particular story that caught the eye of many people. And many suspect there was more to this story than actually first met the diamond. Or should that actually be I? Let me explain. I think that the Duke and Duchess of Windsor were the two victims of an extraordinary robbery in 1946. When the robbery occurred, the Duke and the Duchess were on a trip to Britain from their home in France, where they were staying at a very famous lodge in the Berkshire country home of the Earl and Countess of Dudley. The Duchess certainly, well, liked to travel with everything, basically showing off her jewels and wealth. She pointed out to her hostess that it had many great uncut emeralds and diamonds and everything in, of course, a trunk that had originally belonged to none other than the Queen Mother. Now, it was interesting because, apparently the host thought, well, why are you travelling round with all of this very expensive jewellery? Now, a few days later, the Windsors travelled to London to dine at Claridge's with the Dudleys. While they were away, Simpson's trunks, which were supposedly safely stored in the Duchess's bedroom, were broken into and the contents stolen. This was a case for Scotland Yard, and they were ordered to investigate the crime. But before long, the police noticed that the details didn't actually quite stack up. Why did the servants not spot anything unusual, for instance? And why did the dogs not bark at the sign of an intruder? Now, even more confusing was the jewellery collection was insured for $400,000, and the insurers paid up in full after the theft, agreeing that the Simpsons' new replacement collection should be insured for double that. A year later, the couple took a large quantity of loose gems to Cartier to be incorporated into brand new settings. While the Windsors may have thought that that was the end of the sordid affair, rumours of their involvement in the crime continued to spread. Now, just a year after Wallis Simpson's death, a lot of people decided, of course, to offload many of her very expensive jewels, all via the auction house Sotheby. Now, the Sotheby's auction was held in the grounds of the Beau Rivage Hotel and was the hot ticket of the year for very wealthy buyers, all hoping to secure a piece of the Duchess's jewellery collection, which comprised 306 glittering lots. One London jeweller paid $823,000 for Simpson's engagement ring, while the two jewelled panthers went to the musical impresario Andrew Lloyd Webber as a gift for his wife at the time, the opera singer Sarah Brightman. But they weren't the only big names. In fact, even the very glamorous Elizabeth Taylor wanted in on the act and reportedly phoned from her Los Angeles home to buy a diamond clip in the shape of the plumes and the crown of the Prince of Wales. So there you have it, you see. It's very difficult to say, isn't it? What side of the fence do you actually fall on? A lot of people are basically saying this is a rather strange story. Was it a fake? All that sort of stuff. And I think it's fascinating to think, isn't it, that the brilliant composer Andrew Lloyd Webber, alongside Elizabeth Taylor and many other A-list stars, were desperate to get their hands on some of the gems that had been worn by Wallis Simpson, no less. And of course, let's not forget, he bestowed them on his wife at the time, the singer Sarah Brightman. So everybody gets included in the story as it moves around. But I throw it back to you. Do you believe the Duke and Duchess's version of events? Because even to this day, many people are very sceptical of exactly what went on. And of course, they were never really that open with the media or indeed their families. Now, does that remind you of anybody? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.